black, we see colors.
The opinions expressed on the radio program by the hosts, co-hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions and responsibility of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Genesis Radio, www.genesisradio.com, Genesis Radio's owners, management, or affiliates.
Good evening, and thank you for tuning in to GenesisRadio.com. My name is Kendall Stevenson. This is Joanna Terry, and together we are the Empowerment Show. We are a part of unity in the community, and we hope that you participated in last week's event. It was jamming, and they were having an excellent time. I like to always start off with some sort of something to say, like gratitude. Well, I'm grateful for waking up this morning, but I like to bring something to the attention of people. There were four young children that were, I say, murdered this evening. 9 were wounded. This is down in high school in Georgia. And the person that was the assailant was 14 years old, a 14-year-old. And they want to ban books. You got these banning books all over the place, but no one wants to ban guns. And it seems to me that these guns and getting in the hands of murderers, and they're killing our kids. That's what they're doing. All right, so this evening we're going to talk about womanhood. Womanhood.
Protection of it.
And the protection of womanhood. All of that goes involved with it because, as you can see, violence is going into everybody. Violence among women have been around for quite a while. Women have been abused and all throughout history within this country. I mean, at one time, women weren't allowed to get a credit card in the 70s without their husband saying it was okay, or a checking account. So I like to bring in some people. I'm going to start with this young man. He's a doctor. He's not only a doctor, he was a colonel, special forces, and a cancer survivor. His name is Dr. Lawrence.
Oh,
what's happening, brother?
What's happening with you, sir?
I'm cool.
Okay, I'm cool too. I'm happy to be here.
Well, I know tomorrow you got an event coming on, so
Yes,
you might
sir.
want to hit that up.
Yes, sir. Well, tomorrow, this is the third stop. This is the third stop on a multi-city panel discussion focused on the protection of womanhood. The first stop was in Tampa, Florida, in 2 months ago. I guess that's July. Last month was in New Orleans in August. This month we're going to be in East Stroudsburg University, which is a very unique location because I was in the community. Now I'm coming to the college campus to not only get the lived experience from the adults, but the collegians as well. Our next stop will be Dallas. Then we're looking at possibly Chicago and going to India on the West Coast in California, northern and southern California.
What was your passion?
What was my passion? What was my motivation?
Yeah, your motivation. What got you into loving women or wanting to protect women so much?
Let me start off. I love namely black women.
Right on.
Okay, because my mother happens to be a black woman and I love her dearly.
Well, there's a lot of power that black women hold.
Well, and I'm gonna tell you what started this my outwardly showing demonstration of my love for black women was when I was going through my dissertation. There was a lot of issues going on or allegations that black men, namely my brother Bill Cosby and brother R. Kelly, did some things to women that was not in the best of activities.
Right.
I first, being a military officer though, I first was going to do something insane. I was going to try to interview a Mexican gang leader and learn about the gang leader's mindset and so forth. But something inside of me said, you know what? You've been all over the world. You've been to Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan. You've been to throughout places in Africa, South and Central America. and you try to live up to the Special Forces motto, which is to liberate the oppressed. The oppressed will liberate. So how can I attempt to facilitate the liberation of the most impacted, disrespected, abused person on the face of the planet Earth? And that was the Black woman.
Yes, sir.
So I wrote my dissertation, a very reflective dissertation. It's entitled, and anyone that's listening to my voice can actually Google this. It's called "The Silent Dilemma: The Challenges Black Collegiate Women Face Disclosing Sexual Victimization." And that was a study in which I sat down across the table from women who reportedly did not disclose their sexual victimization for 20 years. And they sat down 20 years later to give me their lived experience of the barriers that prevented them from disclosing their sexual victimization while in college. Powerful because it made me look at myself. What did I do back in the 80s and 90s? Music, dance, the words we used, the stories we told ourselves about a particular group of people, that I created a barrier to them not disclosing. So it really made me look introspectively when I heard their very compelling stories of the barriers that prevented them from disclosing. So to fast forward from 2020 to now, there's a series of other events, but the event that we're going to look at in East Stroudsburg tomorrow is getting the panel discussion. It's going to be a series of questions, and we want to hear her voice, because how man defines security and protection is very, very different from what a woman, namely a Black woman, because I had some opposition when I was doing my dissertation. They said, well, what's the difference between a white woman being sexually assaulted and not disclosing it, and a Black woman? What I learned was years apart, miles apart, because of structures, systems, relationships in the world that were designed for white women and not necessarily culturally designed for Black women. So this panel discussion will allow me to hear her voice, allow us as a collective to hear her voice and understand what security means to her in other aspects. Also, I'm not here to entertain. I'm not here just to have a great conversation and leave. I'm not an entertainer. I'm a trainer. As you said, I'm a former Green Beret. So that's what we do. We train. Okay? So with that, I'm going through each of these cities and collecting the data. And I'm analyzing the data to see what is the emergent themes that came out. And from those themes, from this 6 multi-city engagement, how do we create a manual of sorts, a training guide of sorts, to help train our community, members of our communities, to have a more safe and decent place to live based on us protecting the most precious resource of that community, and that's the woman.
You just remind me of Carter G. Woodson there for a moment. This other young lady, I'm sorry, we also have another guest, and her name is Racy Miller. And she is one of those phenomenal women that we've been talking about.
Yes, sir.
She has started an app. And the app is called Hope. She has a team of engineers. Hero, right. I thought it was Hope. It's Hero.
It started with H.
Well, you know what it was is that she came up with the word, and then we were trying to figure out acronyms to go to them. So I don't know where I got the whole.
And the acronym is
Carissa came up with it.
Helping everyone report offenses.
Yeah, because mine was a little lengthy.
You said it's helping everyone report offenses.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about the app? Now, she can't really get into it technically, but she can explain the app. And the reason why is because she has a team. And her team is the one that does all the technical work.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your support.
Because I'd like to say, as a Black woman, I have never felt protected. Not as a child, not as a young lady. And even still today, sometimes I don't feel safe. So I created this app with women and children in mind. Um, it's to help everyone report crime in real time, to help the response time, to give information and to integrate with the systems that are already in place, to come together, to bridge the gap between community and law enforcement and community organizations.
I love that. I love
It's
that.
powerful.
It really is. I have a question, and I think that'll probably integrate both of you. Um, you talked about the protection of womanhood.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, do you think, in your personal opinion and through your research, that music plays a huge part in how Black women, in particular, are depicted in society?
Well, let's get it straight. We're talking about a particular type of music.
Mm.
And we're talking about the hip hop community.
And
because
he
they
could-
don't do it in other genres. That's where they decided to turn women into things that they shouldn't be called.
I don't agree that they don't do it in other genres. I believe that is more prominent in maybe the hip hop community, but in other genres there are songs, because you don't know every song
No,
in
I
every
don't.
genre,
I don't.
right? So there are songs that that disrespect women or actually demean them in ways that, you know, maybe the hip hop community doesn't, but they're more, you know, in your face with it. But there are songs in other genres that do that.
That's a beautiful question, and just to speak to that, you know, in the 70s and 80s, we had songs by the Isley Brothers, by the Commodores, by you name it, oldies but goodies,
Yes.
and that enabled us to create stories in which we told ourselves.
Love story.
Queens, and, New Birth. She's a flower.
Yes.
She's delicate. Now fast forward 30 years later, and we hearing this information warfare that's going in our ears, that's enabling us to create these stories about ourselves. So when I hear stories that speak that I'm an end or I'm doing these things, it starts to validate my activity, because we using this kind this language in between each other, and sometimes that language facilitates our activity. Therefore, when you hear she's a B, or she's doing this, or unique behaviors that is not moral, in the soundtrack of a 16-year-old's mind, and it enables her to create the story in which she tells herself.
Right.
Well, that's violence, and tomorrow we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what is violence, because violence has been woven into our society so seamlessly that it's become welcome. Again, back in the 70s and 80s, violence was very visceral. But brother just started off about a school shooting, and there's a school shooting. If there was a school shooting in the 70s and 80s, that was a big deal. That was a national event. That was something that took up the airwaves all day long. Nowadays, now let's go talk about this. So because it's so common in which, like, the air that we breathe.
Yeah.
So the music that we listen to, that we ingest, that we ingest with our eyes and ears, has an impact on our minds and our behavior.
I agree.
I'm not making an excuse for them, but I'm going to tell you where they got it from. See, they got it from, like, my generation. And when I say my generation, because the first time I started hearing that type of language or anything like that, the N-word, all that, I watched a movie called Superfly. And I heard all of that in there. The drug dealer was the hero. The cops were the bad guys. And every woman was a BBB, or she was a hooker or a hoe.
Yes, sir.
And they were drug dealers. And what they call each other? N-words.
Yes, sir.
So that's the first time I heard it.
Yes, sir.
And I was a young man at that time.
Yes, sir.
So just like the kids, when they listen to the movies or they listen to the music, we went to the movies.
Yes, sir.
And what we saw in the movies influenced us.
Yes, sir.
So when we came out of the movies, we didn't want to be John Wayne, because we watched Superfly. We wanted to be Superfly. You see, we wanted to be the pimp, the drug dealer. We wanted to be the one driving around with the fancy car because we all were in impoverished neighborhoods.
Yes, sir.
So we looked at that as a way out. Now that manifested in what you call the hip hop now, that language as to where it could be utilized amongst our people.
Yes, sir.
You see, so that's the first place I
Yes, sir.
saw
But
it.
I would say that we skipped. I skipped over a unique period,
Mhm.
a short period of hip hop.
I was
We
gonna
had
say
conscious
that.
hip hop.
Yes.
We had the KRS-Ones.
Mhm.
We had
the
Big Daddy
Latifah.
Kane. We had Queen
Queen
Latifah.
Yes.
You know, we were known as our attribute. You know, Rakim. You know, we were known, and this music was not only lyrically, lyrically a geniuses, but it was giving you a message, and it informed how we dressed. And if we had the sisters wearing crowns, the brothers wearing crowns, medallions, and actually researching what does this mean?
Yes.
Mhm.
As you said, you mentioned when we first met each other, the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Right.
So that forced a lot of people to go to the autobiography of Malcolm X, to go to Message of a Black Man in America by Elijah Muhammad. So there was different. That music forced a behavior.
Yes.
Because that was the thing to do, to be conscious.
Mhm.
You know, but all of a sudden, then I'm not going to say what band or what group kind of changed the game.
You mean NWA?
You mean I'm going to
NWA?
say that is not.
You mean NWA?
There was
The opinions expressed
there was a
here.
private meeting with producers and rappers. They had to leave all their phones outside because the producers wanted them to portray what they're doing, the
Mhm.
killing, the shooting,
Mhm.
the degrading of women, and it was big money put behind it.
Mhm. Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a song that I always remember, that I will always remember, and it's called Self Destruction. It had so many different
That's right.
rappers. Miss Melody,
That's
Ebony Love was in there.
Listen
And
to the names, Miss Melody.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
when you think,
It was so
if you
much
close your
respect.
eyes and say Miss Melody, it just takes you on a spiritual journey.
Yes. Yes.
You know.
Yes, it definitely is one of those times where I'm like, okay, this is who I am, and I was able to kind of take that information or take the feeling that I got from that song and apply it really to my life, because I don't allow anyone to disrespect me to this day, or even call me, something else other than what my mother named me,
Yes,
right?
Yes.
But with that, I know that Kendall loves to talk about the hip hop community, especially now. But if I am going to say something in regards to how the response time is for your app, I'm going to just go segue to that.
Mm-hmm.
Your app. Do you think that the way that women are portrayed in the media, the way that we feel, just like you said, you feel unprotected? Do you think that has a huge bearing on the fact that no one calls the cops when something happens?
Yes, yes. We're conditioned to look the other way or mind our own business. And your neighbor is your business.
Yes.
Because what you allow them to experience and turn and look the other way, the next time it just might be you.
Yes.
Would you say that finance sometimes have to do with that? Like if the woman is not working and the man is working and she got kids and so forth, that she'll allow that type of abuse to go on?
Because he's the primary breadwinner?
Yeah, because he's the primary breadwinner.
She
may not have nowhere to go.
A lot of years.
She may not have any place to go or
It
anything like that, or she don't have any means of supporting herself.
may.
So she allows it, because there are women that allow this abuse to happen.
Yes.
So I just like to
It
know
happened
why.
in my home growing up.
And I like to know why. That's all. Why would somebody do that? I mean, I watched my mother as a young child. I watched my mother being abused. You see, and my mother, we lived in a single household. My mother was 4'11". Now, when the guy got finished beating the hell out of her, he come and beat the hell out of me. You understand? So I know what the abuse that a lot of women have to go through. I've seen it. I've experienced it. But I just want to know why some women put up with it.
And I don't think that's a question we could answer.
Can I just say one thing?
Mm-hmm.
I am very cautious to give simple answers to complex problems.
Right.
All right.
And that is a complex problem.
It is.
Because of the various variables that you mentioned, She might have could not take care of herself. She
Mhm.
had kids. She might have been sick.
Finances.
You know, finances, transportation, the
Mhm.
safety, you know,
Fear.
fear.
So many
So there's so many variables, and there's 100 more after we exhaust that list.
Right.
There's 100 more after that we haven't even thought about,
Right.
because everybody is an island,
Right.
and everybody. If we just, whenever I hear somebody say, especially with what they call intimate partner violence, domestic violence, why don't she just leave him?
Mm.
I stop listening, because you don't understand
Right.
the depth of the problem in which that sister or that mother is going through right now.
Mhm.
You don't understand it. So whenever we say, well, why don't you just dot, 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 you don't understand.
Mhm.
You understand, because the problem is so much more complex and
Right.
deeper than just leaving.
Yeah, so many nuances along with
Leave and
that.
go where?
You can go where? Or he might kill her if he leaves.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Or she got 3 kids with her.
Right. How she's
Or
gonna
she may be sick.
And there's, like you said, there's so many variables. And I want speaking to women who have been have stayed in abusive relationships. Most times it's really the kids, but they don't understand what that does to the kids as they grow older. So trying to convince someone of something that may happen in the future
Mhm.
is hard, and for them to see past today, see tomorrow is kind of hard for them to see that. So it just depends.
Sorry. Thank you for tuning in to GenesisRadio.com. My name is Kendall Stevenson. This is Shaquana Terry. We are the host of the Empowerment Show. If you'd like to give us a call, please give us a call at 888-304-4401. Thank you again. Right on, brother.
Right on.
I'm really glad you guys came in
Yes, sir.
because I got an opportunity to learn a little bit more about you guys, and it's really cool. The air in here kills me. So I got to suck on some mints or something like that. So, but Racy,
Yes.
why don't you tell us a little bit more? I understand you also had a GoFundMe because it takes money to
Yes.
run
It's a
your
very
team and
expensive
everything. Right?
project. It's under my name, Racy Miller Hero,
Mhm.
on the GoFundMe app. And it's in the third phases, which is the final stage of completing the app. And it is a little expensive. So I'm seeking help from the community, from large corporations, from celebrities, from any and everybody.
Mhm. Okay, well, how you been doing with it? You been picking up anything? Any coins?
Yes. It's going slow.
Okay.
My largest donation was $3,500.
Oh, okay.
So,
That should get the wheels rolling
Yeah,
somewhere.
that completed the second phase
Mhm.
of the project.
Right,
So
right.
now I'm working on the third phase,
Okay, what's that going to be?
about $6,400.
Mm.
Plus the marketing costs.
Yes, it does. It certainly does. All right, we're gonna slide back to you, but I think she got some questions for you because
Uh-oh.
I feel her on my back. You know,
I'm just
so
listening.
I'm gonna slide out the way.
I'm just listening. I just wanted you to give the GoFundMe information. You said Racy Miller, but
Racy
can you
Miller.
spell that for
Yes,
the listeners?
Racy, RACYE,
Mhm.
Miller, MILLER, and it's under Hero.
Okay.
And he is hyping.
Thank you very much.
You know,
So we
that,
can
that,
put
that
out there.
name, your name, Racy Miller, just had me think about, as we're talking about the protection of womanhood. There was a sister by the name of Racy Miller.
That's all right.
Not Racy Miller, but Racy Taylor.
Okay.
Racy Taylor,
Mhm.
I was from Abbeville, Alabama, in the 40s, and she got sexually assaulted, because she's in my dissertation, by 6 white men. By coming home from church, walking down Alabama Road, and she went and disclosed. She went and told the police,
Mhm.
and it's based on the laws and structures and relationships that were prevalent during that time period. They did nothing.
Mhm.
They did nothing, and it just, how do we transform those systems, relationships, and structures to be more not equal but equitable? Because there's certain services if provided in an equal manner, they still do not get access to the depth of a problem which a black woman may encounter.
Well, you know, a lot of black women in this country, they're undervalued,
Yes, sir.
marginalized,
Yes, sir.
and they're underestimated.
Yes, sir.
There's so many things that a black woman can do, but with the powers that be, of course, they understand the power of a black woman. And if you can hold back a black woman, then you can take down a black family.
Yes, sir.
Well, would you say that the disconnect is, white men protect their white women? In certain cases, black men weren't even allowed to do that. They had to watch
Yes.
the black
Yes.
woman be disrespected. So that's ingrained.
Right.
That's ingrained in us. And I feel that in some cases, the white man is saying, I can disrespect her because she has no protection.
Right.
So how do we shift that? Great questions. I personally don't know the answer. There's so many things that we have to unlearn.
Yes.
Now, I tell you, because of that, not being able to protect your woman, I mean, from a black man's point of view. And this is where you get more abuse in the family, because now you feel as though you're not the head of the family anymore
Mm-hmm.
because you can't protect the woman. So you want to control her.
Mm.
You understand? Look, you're out here trying to get a job, you're trying to hustle, you're trying to do all these things, and because of the powers that be, you're being held down. Now you got to bring that home.
It creates a degree of frustration,
Absolutely.
embarrassment, and actually, that's one of the questions. Just a spoiler alert for the men tomorrow. What are the barriers that disrupt your ability to protect women, black women?
There was an interview, and I don't know if you've seen it. It's between Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin.
That was very good.
That was a good one, right?
It was.
And she basically, went through talking about how he brings all of the things from the world home to her. And she's saying, listen, lie to me too. The same way you have to put on a face, go outside and speak to the world, do that to me. I personally didn't agree with her take on it. However, I understood because as a black man, especially in that time, you bring home all of the troubles of the world, that everything that they place on your back, and you just dump it in the household. And it's kind of hard to turn off because you're trying to, of course, please everyone. But in that, she's saying, protect me too, please me too.
Yes.
So I just thought that was pretty. I was like, okay, this is nice. I like this. I like the take. I like the exchange between the two of them, and it actually showed me that women and men can disagree, but also still be respectful. And sometimes that's not prevalent in our community.
It's funny you mentioned, lie to me too,
Mhm.
which is speaking to emotions.
Right.
Speaking to not necessarily protect me as far as keeping this room and make sure nobody come in and so forth, but emotionally, psychologically, sexually, financially, protect me too. And that's where this panel discussion is getting beyond the structural aspect and physical aspects of security, because she requires so much more to be comfortable. As the assistant mentioned, she has never felt comfortable or secure, safe for her life. And then she may have been in a situation where she was physically safe, but there were other aspects that were as safe.
I was a single parent.
Yes,
and,
ma'am.
I didn't put up with abuse. I'd leave. And I didn't always have the proper options to leave, but I got out because I could not deal with being in an impoverished situation and be beaten. But that's just me.
Yes, ma'am.
Being poor and getting your ass.
Right. I can't do
For lack of
that.
a better word.
That's what you want, bro.
I couldn't do that.
Damn.
Oh man.
I had to
Yeah, I
work
get
extra
that.
hard to
I
take
get
care of
that.
my family, and I moved around a lot. But yeah, I couldn't do both.
Well, a lot of black women, they definitely, like I said, they're strong and they've been the strength of our community. And a lot of black men, I think they're starting to realize that now. I think it's starting to come to light. At least I'm hoping it is. You know, with everything that's going on politically and what's been going on with us as a people, with this becoming more segregated amongst ourselves, I'm just hoping that the way things are, we're starting to come back together. With Kamala Harris, I'm hoping that may even bridge us even closer together. Because here's a sister that's been constantly disrespected in the media, and especially by white people and white men. And I tell the brothers all the time, man, you don't let no white man disrespect no sister like that. Come on, man. Don't do that. That's one of our sisters. Like, you're one of our sisters. She's one of our sisters. Well, that's my daughter. But I'm saying, us as black men, I think we're coming back to wanting to protect our sisters and protect our women.
But we really need to reach out to the younger generation because it's going to be on their backs to change this.
And I think that's why the panel at the college is so important.
Yes.
Because if we get them from there, where college is where you're shaping your life, you're actually coming into your own. So if we can get them at that level, especially now with they have a higher level of understanding because they're going to college, so they're doing more and they're researching more. Hopefully, the panel tomorrow would help those people, or just give them a better understanding of what is needed for our community as a whole.
Right. You know, just again, I'm not an expert on many things, but I do say that I'm an expert on violence because I've seen violence growing up. I've been formally involved, you know, over almost 30 years with, you know, violent environment. And now with respect to just several things I'm involved with, I'm a violence interrupter. And there's a model or a theory that I always go to try to understand violence, and it's called the triangle of violence. A guy by the name of Johann Galtung in the 60s wrote this piece on the triangle of violence. And when you look at the three parts of the triangle, the lower part is invisible violence. There's violence every day. You are victims of violence in a very invisible and discreet way. The first part of that piece of violence is what they call structural violence. And that structural violence is laws, policies, procedures. Because of who you are, you're not allowed to access this human right and so forth, i.e. Jim Crow, i.e. apartheid. Okay, because you are of this community, you can't access this. And that right there facilitates, as I spoke to you before, about the stories we tell ourselves based on what this particular group cannot access or because of the laws. They are the stories that the communities tell themselves about that group. Oh, they lazy. Oh, they're a bunch of this, or they're a bunch of that, because they can't, because the laws prevent them from even getting there. So those are happening every day. Those are happening every day, and I encourage us to look at the world and look at the laws that are placed against unique communities, and the stories you tell yourself or you've been made to hear based on that community. And those stories that we tell ourselves, and I use ourselves in air quotes, supports the direct violence against that group. So the violence is birthed. It's actually birthed in structural violence. It's cultivated in the stories we tell ourselves, and it's manifested in the actual either direct or indirect actions. Like, okay, we're not going to feed these guys. We're not going to feed these people. They're going to starve to death because they are this people, they are that people. Famine. You know. So I will ask us, you know, to look at the world around us so we can make sense of it. And once we make sense of it, utilizing maybe a model such as this, I'm not saying this is the model. This is a model. Once we see that, now how do we break the triangle? How do we go after policies, procedures, and the allocation of resources in a more direct manner to further facilitate the changing of the stories that we tell ourselves to reduce the violence or indirect violence to a certain people?
people may not agree, but voting.
Yeah, hey,
you have to
hey,
vote.
that's
you
the
got
policy.
to you got to
get
get the
involved.
people that you want in office. Then you got to vote for them. And one of the, when I speak about things like that, I really get a little disappointed because I constantly hear people that look like me. They complain, but they only complain to each other.
Yeah.
And then if you ask them, well, who is your state representative? They have no idea.
Right.
But yet they want to complain about what the person does or the different policies. And you say, look, come on down to the town hall. Why don't you sit down and listen? They don't show up.
And different communities, it matters.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because I
But
know,
the other side is voting.
yes, I know my state representative. I've been up here for 25 years in Lehighton. And he's very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was in North Philly, I didn't know. And I didn't know where to seek the help that I needed.
Anybody wants to know who the state representative is, all you can do is you can Google it on your phone. It's pretty much that simple nowadays because research is easy, especially something like that is very easy to find. But sitting around complaining about something, what my girl said, Fannie Lou Hamer, she used to have to saying, she said, no, she said, you can pray until you faint. But if you don't get up off your ass and do something about it, God is not going to put it in your lap. So if we want things done, like as far as policies and stuff to be made and changed, you got to force them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You can't just say, hey, okay, you get my vote or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You can go on in the office. Yeah, you got my vote because I like what you say in your policies. But now we got to force them to implement these policies. Because if you don't, they're not going to do anything. Barack Obama said that. People say he didn't do nothing for black people, but you didn't make it either.
Oh, well, I think there's a common misconception that the president can do everything, and that's not the case. People need to go out to their primaries and in their local communities whenever those elections are, and putting those people in the House of Representatives, putting those people in the Senate that need to be there, that actually line up with your values and beliefs. And I think that's kind of where it starts. But if we don't do that and we just go out for the presidential election, we've seen that in the past with Barack Obama. Lots of things did not go through the House or get passed because
we thought we had made it in.
We didn't have it all. We didn't have it all.
We didn't have it.
We had an opposition. Of course, you always have opposition, but we as a people, we've learned how to overcome certain things. We say we adapt to the situation and then we overcome.
Yes.
But the only way we've ever been able to do that is because we do it as a unit. You understand? Not that we're monolithic in thought, because we all have our different opinions about things. But when it comes to different policies, we have to be monolithic, and we got to come full force.
So how do we again thinking about that and the protection of womanhood? You know, because that's what we're here for tonight. You know, how do we get beyond the theoretical piece and get to action? You know, I mean, the policies and procedures are going to be what they are, but how do we create safe places for our communities to thrive? You know, I mean, we again, I could throw out a theory, I could throw out a model. We can blame policy XYZ, but what is Jim doing? What is Barbara doing to make their community a more safe and decent place to live? How are they teaching their children?
Right.
You know, so that's why I think you can't depend on whatever county schools board to teach your children how to treat each other, because that's been a fatal flaw for many school districts for centuries. How are you teaching your own children?
Exactly. It does start in the home. I have two daughters. So one is 22, she's in Villanova getting a master's, and then my youngest is 17. She is she's getting ready to graduate high school. So we have these we actually, when at home, I let them know exactly what they can expect out there. I let them know how to, just their mannerisms and how to act as a woman. How to make sure that they have respect for their elders. So they're yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. And when they don't encounter those types of behaviors, it seems like they're out of their comfort zone, because not everyone is teaching their kids what I'm teaching mine. and I have to have those conversations with them. I think, like he said, it does start in the home, and it starts with allowing them like to just kind of be themselves, and I ask them questions about how they're feeling, and ask them questions about what they deem to be the right way to handle certain situations, especially as a Black woman. And the things they haven't encountered all things, of course, because they're still young. But I'm teaching them to be able to actually deal with those issues, and if there's anything that needs to be addressed, go to the necessary people. Because get the help that you need, research it, get the help that you need by going to the necessary people in order to evoke change.
I'm sorry we got to cut this short because the brother he
No,
has,
no,
he
no,
has
no,
a place
no,
to be.
no.
No, you good?
I'm good. I'm good. I just at that time.
Okay, I just want to make sure you're good.
But I'm very good.
But one of the things I did want to say is
Yes,
that there are organizations, and fortunately, with our show, the Empowerment Show, we've been able to bring people on that actually have action, that actually do something, that help the homeless out, that help the people to help buy homes, build homes. The politicians, we have politicians on this show, and we had to ask them questions just like we're asking you. You see, in this way, everybody has to watch and see what they have to answer with. And a lot of times, no, I don't give out a questionnaire. I'm sorry. I used to do that in the beginning, but then it's scripted.
Right.
And I didn't want it to be scripted. I wanted to know who you are,
Right.
and then you can tell me about what you do and
Right.
why you do it.
Right.
You got me?
I got you.
Right on.
I tell you this. A major two issues I really focus on when I speak to people is a source of conflict. A source of conflict is hearing versus listening.
Mm-hmm.
We hear everything. I hear the buzz in the background, and I hear people walking and all. But are we listening to each other? And how are we training ourselves to be better listeners? We're so much in a rush to answer, to cut someone off. And I'm training myself to be a better listener by using this phrase when I speak to someone. I'm trying to stop saying yes, but, and say yes, and.
Right.
But to further facilitate the conversation. Because when you say yes, but, everything that before that but is over. And you've undermined that person, and you probably ignited a flame in them, that they ready to dragging you out. Okay? Well, if you say yes, but, yes, and, yes, I understand it, but how about and this as well? Now it's less transactional and more transformative. And now we get to keep on building on a conversation. That's number one. Number two, I think we suffer because of social media, because of just the 25 hours a day, 8 days a week onslaught of information. We suffer from self-esteem issues, and we lack self-worth. Let me say that again, because I think Jim don't fell asleep over there. No, Jim over there, way over there.
Hey, Jim?
Yeah, Jim way over there, and Sarah way over there.
Wake your ass up, man. We're trying to do some serious things here, man. We got some serious things going on here, Jim.
Yes.
Yeah, this man talking.
Self-esteem, because we see air quote ourselves on the social media, on the TikTok, on the Facebook, on this and that, and I'm trying to aspire to being that, to be, enhancing my body this way and that way, opposed to enhancing your self-worth, and you know who you are, and nobody can affect that, no matter regardless of what they say. You're pretty, you're ugly, you're smart, you're dumb. I know who I am. So that's less effective opposed to self-esteem. The world gives you self-esteem, but you can build your value. You can build your value. So hearing versus listening, and the self-worth versus esteem, I think that's something that we can work on to make our communities more safe and decent places to live.
Just about self-esteem and confidence. Did you know that graduating from colleges, university, that the majority of them are graduating with masters are African American women, and that's among all races.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that are actually starting to open up corporations. They're starting to build businesses, and they're actually starting to grow.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, the first paragraph of my dissertation speaks to per capita.
Mhm.
You know, black women have the more credentials, certification, doctorate, masters, you know, bachelor's degrees, and so forth per capita, because there may be more others going to college, but per capita, this group of people hold the most certifications.
Yeah.
Now, let's get from the theoretical world. Let's put that paper on the wall and admire it and smile.
Mhm.
But now, how are we operationalizing what we learned
Right.
and taking it back to the communities that need it, opposed to prostituting yourself to get a dollar? Not just women, but men.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm just giving this away to get some money
Mhm.
and say, look at my, you know, and I live in the suburbs and I'm away from the problem.
Mhm.
Though you're actually causing a greater problem. You haven't taken. First of all, you haven't taken that knowledge and taken it back to the neighborhood which you came from to recreate yourself.
Mhm.
So 20 years from now, you will see yourself walking across that stage. That's number one. Number two, and this is what I do. I turn on that wall, on that perimeter of knowledge in which I learned, and I look back and I challenge the knowledge now, based on extra other parts and pieces of knowledge that I've acquired.
Mhm.
So just because I have a paper that says I do this, I challenge this with that now. So that's how I can continue to expand what I've learned, and I'm constantly engaging the young people in underserved and underrepresented communities to try and recreate myself. That's my contribution to making our community more safe and decent places to live.
So other than Pennsylvania, do you go any place else?
Yes,
Mm.
yes, and yes. Like I mentioned, I was in New
Mhm.
Orleans.
Right.
I was in Tampa. I'm in South Dallas. I'm all over. New York. I'm all over.
Big question. Nonprofit organization?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So you guys sponsorship?
I do, but I'm not going to, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you accept donations?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
where would you accept
that's
donations at?
Oh yeah, well I will accept donations from a bridgelight.org, and the donation piece is on there.
At Bridge Dot,
A bridge to light.
A Bridge to Light.
Yes.
a bridgetolight.org.
.org.
And on that page, I can find where people can donate.
And all of you come into the panel discussion tomorrow, you'll see the QR code to donate. So it ain't gonna be hard to find.
Yeah, I know that. Well, we here at the station, we also have a web page, and we do ask for donations because it costs to keep the lights
That's
on.
right. That's right.
And I don't know if people know, but it's a good thing being a host, but it's not very lucrative. And most hosts that you hear on the radio and television, they have other work that they do that they actually earn a lot of money. But this is our way of giving back to the community.
This is excellent.
This is our way of trying to turn information into action.
That's right. That's right. Because we just have information with no action, and we're just talking to ourselves.
Mm-hmm. That's why here at Gynesis Radio, that's exactly what we do. Ask that young man over there. He just gave an affair called Unity in the Community. And this is where we try to bring the community together.
I tell you, one of the things that I do, I partner with dentistry, schools of dentistry, because one thing that's lacking in underserved communities is dental examinations. And the unique piece about dental examinations, people just say, well, you got rotten teeth and maybe a breath snake or medication. But it's horrible health. It goes beyond that. It is psychological. It could be cardiac. It can affect your heart. It can affect your intestines. And also there's a linkage between that and violence.
And your brain.
And your brain.
Poison is closer to your brain.
That's correct.
In your mouth.
Correct. So, but I heard the ooh. You see, we never thought about that linkage between poor oral health and violence. Because when you have that and you have poor oral health, sometimes you're not in the best of moods.
Right.
And somebody may say something to you that may not agree with you that day. Now we throwing hands. Or nowadays, now I'm picking up a gun.
Right.
Because you said something about my breath or my teeth. And now I'm doing X to X because of so how are we disrupting that? I would disrupt that. So hey, that's free game out there for y'all. Whoever's listening, partner with a dentistry school and that's part of their training to go out into communities and do this training. You're actually conducting a violence interruption activity by doing that. In hitting other aspects of oral health, psychological health, cardiac health, guttural health. So just by keeping people's teeth clean and so forth.
Yes. Thank you for that.
Now, I would also like to let women know about the Blackfoot Gun Club. You can join it. It's pretty good. They teach you how to use a firearm. Yeah, they teach you about gun safety, and they teach you how to protect yourself.
What's it called?
Blackfoot Gun Club.
Okay. And where's that located?
Right, Pocono.
Okay.
Right.
So you women, if you like, you can join. The woman, her name is Joanna Williams,
That's right.
and we've had her on the show. And she is the vice president. And the gun club was actually started by another phenomenal woman. Her name is Tamiko Patterson. She was the founder. Okay? In case everybody didn't know that.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Lawrence. Thank you so much, Miss Gracie.
I love that name. I never heard it until I met her.
And I never heard it before until he mentioned
Wow.
Gracie Taylor.
I never heard that name before. I don't know anyone with that name. I thought it was a nickname. I thought you liked to drive cars fast or you run fast.
That could be it too.
I didn't know, All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming in. Again, my name is Kendall Stevenson. I'm the host of the Empowerment Show along with Shaquana Terry. Unity in the community. If you'd like to give us a call, 888-304-4401. Any last comments?
Yes, I just would like to add that you can see Dr. Lawrence tomorrow at East Stroudsburg University at the Beers Lecture Hall. That is 200 Prospect Street, East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, 18301. It's tomorrow, September 5th, 2024. The time is 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. and it's going to be a panel discussion on the protection of womanhood. Again, that's at East Stroudsburg University at the Beers Lecture Hall at 200 Prospect Street, East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. And you can also find Miss Racy. Okay, if you can give your contact information one more time for us, that would be great.
Go to GoFundMe and look for Racy Miller under the Hero app.
Okay.
If somebody wanted to give you a call,
484-629-9834.
there we go.
484-629-9834.
Now, this young lady always has a saying before we out of here.
Oh, I say be yourself because everyone else is taken.
And my little motto is peace.
Peace.
Thank you so much for
Thank
joining.
you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.